Also, I'm going to
Okay. You'll keep that up though, running?
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, it was pretty awesome that the mic mute thing decided to stay active the whole time. Okay. Here we are, WEB170. Schedule, spring. May 23rd. Oh, using widgets in your WordPress site. Oh, Mark, did you forget to write that lecture? I meant to write that up. I swear I did. But I didn't. So we're just going to wing it. And it's going to be recorded. So, right? And then we'll do custom fields in your WordPress site. Okay. Let's explain widgets in a nutshell. Widgets are basically a term that gets widely used. Okay. So in other words, when I mean widely, maybe it's just me, but overused, especially in my case. So when I say then, I refer to these down here as widgets, right? I am not referring to that these are WordPress widgets. I am just calling them widgets for the sense of saying those are items on the front page, okay? What else would you refer to those items on the front page as?
CTAs.
CTAs, features, right? Whatever you want to say. I've been using the word widgets, and that's just kind of what I'm going with. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they are WordPress widgets or are not WordPress widgets, okay? What is a WordPress widget? Well, if we look at these things in my sidebar, what are widgets and what are not? How can you tell? You can't from the front end. That's kind of my point. So if I logged in, here's what I mean by WordPress widgets. If we go under Appearance, Widgets, you will see in my case, I have two sidebars. Also, not the same thing as the sidebar.php file, right? So these right here are what we call WordPress widgets, meaning that I am using a pre-made something that is attached to a WordPress plugin, or I am using something that is out of the box WordPress, like pages, like archives, so on and so forth. Okay? Like poop. If I go to current install, I log in. And I go to Appearance. Uh-oh. Why can't I access widgets?
Do you know the answer?
Huh?
Do you know the answer?
Yes, I know the answer.
I couldn't tell if that was sarcastic or not.
Son of a bitch. Yes, I know the answer.
All right.
So, on my school site, I have two sidebars. Doesn't mean I have two sidebar PHP files. I have two dynamic sidebars. That these dynamic sidebars contain widgets. In then my sidebar.php file in my school theme, I am saying grab dynamic sidebar 1, dynamic sidebar 1, get dynamic sidebar 2, dynamic sidebar 2. How does WordPress know that I have two sidebars, two dynamic sidebars, and not 4 of them? No, nobody? Nobody? Mark? Do you know? I forget.
What?
I'm kidding. I totally remember. I'm just taunting Alec over here. My functions file. Register sidebars.
So you know the answer.
I do. So if we went to you think I really didn't know the answer?
You really thought about it.
Oh boy.
Deep breath.
Should I put the camera on my face so people at home can see the look I'm giving you?
Sure.
No, that's a waste of time. Register sidebars. So we can then register multiple sidebars if we want to. Okay. In other words, why I have 2 in my school site is because in my school sites, I then use the register sidebars function, said 2 of them. And much like our other functions, we can then pass the arguments through the function using an associative array. Before the widget, give it a div. After the widget, give it a div. Before the widget, give it a title and an H2, so on and so forth. Okay. So if I said then, I opened up 3 instances of Google Chrome because that totally makes a lot of sense to me. In my functions file then, register my menus. I can even say my sidebars. Then I can say register, register. They're not going to give me that sheet for that one? Really? Interesting. Register sidebars. Interesting. All right. Try that again. Maybe I misspelled something. Register. Huh. They forgot that. All right. Well, whatever. I can type it out. Register sidebars. And I should see now widgets. Because I registered sidebars, meaning enable sidebars. So by default, you'll just get sidebar. Okay? You can name the sidebars if you want. We're just going to do one, and I'm going to put a widget in there. So available widgets. These are then the kind of default out-of-the-box WordPress widgets, text. So if I want to put HTML text in the sidebar, I could use the text widget and then in here write my own custom HTML and it'll appear in there. I could do pages. Sort by page title, order, ID. I could do a custom menu. I could say recent posts, all kinds of stuff. I'm going to put, let's say, so now they have one out of the box for categories, right? So instead of, remember how I did, if we're in pages, give me the submenu items. If we're not in pages, give me the categories. I could have just said, put the categories widget, dynamic widget in there and give me the categories, right? I'm going to, meaning the login, RSS, WordPress, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm going to label it accordingly. I can move these in whatever order I want to. Okay. So now, if I then go and view my site, and I go to a page, that's funny. It's by default putting it in there. I haven't told it to put it in there. Oh, but it's not putting the meta in there. Huh. Interesting. Hold on. Let me test something. I'm going to take my pages sidebar out of there. Did I screw up my menu maybe? Ooh, I did. Ah, interesting. I'm going to take a tangent real quick and say that I screwed something up. Apparently, if I'm not in pages, I got my categories. But if I'm in pages, it's giving me the whole thing. So if I open my sidebar, did I already show you guys that I created a sub-navigation function and I moved that function into my functions file? I showed a few of you. So if I go to my functions file, I have this, where I said if is page, etc., else if is not page. And for some reason, is page. Let's do this. Bear with me. I'm saying if we're not in pages, now it's showing me that. If I go over there, huh? Logos, home. Interesting. I screwed something up, Mark. Well, I'll have to go back and fix that on my own time because I really don't want to waste class time troubleshooting stuff that should be working and it's not. I'd rather wait for server instead. Well, why is my my meta stuff not displaying in my sidebar currently? Because I haven't told it to.
Because you haven't folded it?
That's right. What's going on with my connection?
It appears to be down the wireless now.
Really? Are you kidding?
At least that's still up.
It did have a blip.
All right. Well, basically, I haven't told it to, right? So if I want to say begin sidebar, right, my sub navigation, and I want to then put in those widgets, at dynamic sidebar, what I need to do then is, so if I go to my sidebar here, this is where I need to call the function in my sidebar, dynamic sidebar, right? So right now, in my sidebar, I have div ID sidebar, my sub navigation, right? I'm going to even go a little bit further and say div ID sub navigation, basically just putting a div tag around my sub navigation. If you were in my Web 200 class earlier, and I was saying about how I do these comments like this, I don't know, man. I've felt like commenting being like a comment. I'll just say it, a comment Nazi. I mean, no disrespect or no anything. I feel like being really strict on my comments like that has really helped out. So div ID sub navigation, then I am going to in here say and I'm going to call it dynamic widgets. So we kind of get used to that term. So I guess I could say widgets versus dynamic widgets. Dynamic widgets are things that you pull from the WordPress dashboard under their widgets like we were just talking about. And I'm just going to say div ID, and again, say dynamic widgets. And then the function is dynamic sidebar, right? Let's go back here, dynamic sidebar. So if we then go take a look at the codex, we can, so here we can say dynamic sidebar. Well, if we named a sidebar left or right, right? In other words, we can name our sidebars appropriately, right? We're just going with one generic sidebar that we're not naming, okay? A sidebar has no name. No Game of Thrones fans?
I haven't watched it yet.
Rough, man. So rough.
Boy, did you see yesterday's?
I watched it this morning.
You did.
We don't need to get into it.
Oh, no. No. Man. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
things happen.
All things happened.
Okay.
Huh?
Wild.
Yeah. All I'm saying is no giving me that face, Anna. All I'm saying is, man, that, you know, that's somebody who had the whole story from start to finish before they actually filled in the blanks of what happened along
Have
the
you
way.
read the books?
Huh?
Have you read the books?
I've read halfway through 5.
That character was introduced 19 years ago. That's how far ahead he was thinking.
It's crazy.
That's
Yeah.
nuts, man.
Yeah.
Find words like that.
Yeah. How many of you hate us right now? Anna. Moving on. Thanks, Adam.
I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anna, what, sometimes when you're running for an elevator, what do you say? I'm not getting into that. So, wasn't that mean? That was just mean. So, dynamic sidebar. I'm sorry for those people at home. Paige, I'm really sorry if you're watching this. Anyway, you can name them left sidebar, you can name them right sidebar, but we're just going to call a main generic one. Your face is killing me, Anna.
Oh, are we learning again?
We're learning again. Yes. So dynamic sidebar, right? And this is where if I had a name, if a sidebar had a name, did I mention I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night? Did I mention that?
You mentioned it last time.
Yeah,
To
yeah,
me, only, really.
yeah. Dude, I am so,
Was that you that posted that baloney meme?
yes. My baloney has a first name. A baloney has no name, no first name. My baloney has no first name. Okay, getting back to learning. Sorry, Anna. Dynamic sidebar in the sidebar file. So now, I didn't get shit for sleep last night. So now if I refresh, I should see then my meta underneath my sub navigation, right? So if I go and inspect, then in my, Alec, sorry, are you okay over there? In my sidebar, I now have a sub navigation div, and then I have my dynamic widgets. And it'll then, just like in the navigation and stuff, it'll start writing things into list items, and you'll have to take a look at the classes it gives it, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things that I don't like about it is a lot of times it will then take, and if you've put a widget in there, it'll wrap it in a list item tag. Then inside it'll give it an H tag, and then another UL and list items. So it kind of overdoes the list item stuff. And that's where I've had to go back and edit things accordingly. Wow, you hate me so much right now.
I was have a resting bitch face today. I'm tired too.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Okay.
So that time it was just my face.
Okay.
So, the other time I was actually,
So anyway, that's widgets. Woo!
Can you go back to your dream weaver really quickly?
My Dreamweaver crash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's that kind of day.
Dreamweaver crash?
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
Shock.
Earlier today, Steve Conger was in class, you know, observing me, right? Yeah, you have to do your observations. And so just like everybody else, I was saying, hey, Steve, say this aloud. And so he said the answer that I wanted him to say. It was funny.
He didn't look very delighted.
Oh, he was fine. He didn't get very much sleep either.
He doesn't really wear his expressions
No.
on his sleeve. I've noticed. I don't really know him that well, but
Fair.
He's a sweet guy.
yeah,
He's a nice dude.
he's friendly.
Sorry, guys, Dreamweaver crashed on me. Oh, what do you care? You should be in class anyway.
Ask you a question?
Yeah.
Sorry, so flat. So we added that to the sidebar, which shows up in portfolio and blog. Or does yours show up?
It'll show up in everything, right? Because basically what I did, let's see if it saved the last bit of code I put in there. Emmett, go away, Emmett. I don't need you. Stop bothering me, Emmett. So I put it in my sidebar file, which is being called in all my page templates. In my index, in my single, etc.
Okay,
Okay?
I just don't have a color.
What?
I just don't, I just.
Yeah. So it's wherever, it's wherever you put it. And basically, that's where then I'm just, that's how on my school site, let's close some of these windows. So on my school site, for instance, on my front page, I have my categories show up, right? But not if you go into any of my inner pages, because then you're not on my blog, okay? So if we go back to the dashboard then, go back to widgets. I have my categories in sidebar 1 and everything else in sidebar 2. So I'm saying then, if we are not in a page, or we are on the search page, or, excuse me, we are not on a regular page, or the search page, or the 404 pages, show me dynamic sidebar 1, being categories. show sidebar 2 everywhere, right? So that's how it's up to you about how you want to break things into the dynamic sidebars and label them appropriately, left, right, upper, downer, 1, 2, A, B, C, D, you know, however you want to do it, and then use conditionals to have it show up wherever you want it to show up. Does that make sense? Is that kind of your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on. So that was the widgets lecture. Did I really need to write one up for that? No. Would have been nice if Mark would have gotten to it.
But it all got on tape, and that's the first half.
Yeah, it's all recorded.
Okay.
All right. So now what we want to talk about is, well, let's go to the assignments. So you will have to add a widget in your sidebar. We're going to do a pull quote now. And we're going to do a pull quote using custom fields. Okay. Custom fields. What are custom fields? Well, if I go to, let's say my school, let's go back to my school site. And if we go to any one of my classes, like let's say we're on the WEB170 set of pages. Remember how I originally said that all of these subpages are at the same level, right? Meaning they are all the same level children of the parent WEB170. Okay? But how did I get them to be broken out into separate head models? I could have done that with the WP menu system. But that would get very cumbersome every time I wrote a new lecture or deleted something. I would have to go and manage, do I really want to manage 300 pages in my menu system? Or do I want to use, remember how I used the WP list pages function, right? So when I use the WP list pages function in so if we again go back to my sidebar that I probably just closed, if is not the search page, get my submenu. Okay. Mark, would you do me a favor, please? Please. You're a hero of mine. Okay. So if we then see what that function is in my functions file, here is then the get my submenu function. Well, first of all, if you are writing a function in your functions file and you need to use the post object, what is the post object? Who remembers what the post object is?
It's a function in PHP that posts things to the page.
That is the post super global
Okay.
for using, in other words, you're talking about the either get or the post
Yeah, exactly.
methods for forms. This is then a WordPress post written object. Well, post means any page you're posting, any page you're on.
Oh.
That's the post object. So a post has a title. A post has content. A post has no name. That was for you, Adam.
Okay.
In your functions file, if you ever have to refer to, for instance, down here, where we are saying child of the post parent, right? So get children of, go look at the post and go take a look at its post parent, right? So when we're doing this in our functions file, if we do not make this post, oh, thank you. You are my savior. If you do not make this post a global inside of a function, you will run into what issue? God, I love quizzing developers. What issue? In other words, if I don't put global there, it won't recognize the post object. Why?
Oh, I'll be brief. Because it'll only be recognized within that function and won't be recognized by other functions outside of that function in PHP.
What's that called?
Super global? A local variable.
Variable scope. Okay, so yes, it will not, in other words, we have to tell this, in other words, if I make a variable post there, it is going to refer to that variable inside this function and inside that function only. If I say that this variable is now a global, it will look outside of that function for the variable post. That is called variable scope. Okay? So, what I need to do then is use, let's get past some of these conditionals, but let's then go to, you see how I've used the list pages here several times. Here's what I've done. Put it all on the screen together. So if we're looking at this one right here, list pages, child of, the post parent, title li, none, meta key, navigation, meta value, class. Same thing with these down here. Meta key, navigation, meta value, lecture, meta key, navigation, meta value, assignments, exercises, team, student. That then is the key value pair. Navigation. Class, lectures, assignments, students. So if we look at then, if we edit this page and we look at the dashboard here, then for this page, we are using custom fields. So down underneath your text editor, you have a spot for custom fields, where I've given a custom field a name. Apparently a custom field has a name, right? In this case, the custom field is navigation. If we look here, I have many different names for custom fields. Many of them I'm not using. Some of them are legacy. I used to use meta for my meta description. I didn't delete the custom field, right? Whatever. But because this has the key value pair of navigation and lecture, this lecture of using custom fields shows up under my lectures section. Because that was not the answer. That's not why. Sorry. You guys notice how I walked far away from the microphone? I did that. That was for you, Bree. Just thinking about you. So therefore, in my functions file then, I have a headline for lectures, and I'm saying go get the meta key or the custom field of navigation and see what the value is. The value is lecture. So therefore, write out all of the pages for WEB170 lectures. Does that make sense? Okay, so if we went to the assignment, create a pull quote for using your custom fields. It is under assignments. So if I went and edited page, I would see then custom field, navigation, value, assignment. So here's what we're going to do. On my About page, I have this quote. On my Portfolio page, I have that quote. On my blog, I don't have a quote. A blog has no quote. Kidding. I'm running with the Game of Thrones thing. It's run its course. It has. Here's what I want to do. Oops. Oh, don't close that window. There we go. If I am on my About page and I go to Edit Page, I should see under here nothing. If I then go up to Screen Options, I should click on Custom Fields. If I do that, then I will see where I can put a custom field down here. Okay. Hold on, I'm going to grab my notes real quick. I'm going to create a custom field, and I'm going to call it quote. Oh, I can't just add one without a value. So I've added a custom field, a quote, and a value. The market is flooded with my 2 cents on the About page. I'm going to update that page. I'm going to view that page and see that I have nothing in my sidebar or nothing anywhere referring to that quote. I'm going to go to Portfolio. I'm going to edit this page. And I'm going to see now that I've already made one custom field that I now have a drop-down menu that I can pick from the custom fields list because I created one. And I can say quote. And I can say so. What I want to do now is I want to see if when I'm navigating through my website, currently I've put a quote on About in Portfolio, but not in Blog and Contact. So what I want to do is run a test or a conditional. Is there a quote? I'm going to go to my sidebar. And I am going to actually put this between my dynamic widgets and my sub-navigation. It's not what I want to write. We're going to use the get post meta function. So we go back to here. In my lecture, I said, is key set to banner, value is set to that. So I did the banners on the RAW one using custom fields as well, right? So if I went to that, I did this. I don't even think no, I did ask. Begin check for a spotlight. So if get post meta for the post ID, whatever page we're on, again, the post object, get its ID, see if it matches. For banner, if that is true, then we can write up some crap here. And we can then say, for the image source, get the post meta of banner. So get the value. That's where in the RIW one, I used the image name where it is on the server to put that in there. Make sense? You had not, Mark? Okay. So we have created our custom field. We need to use our custom field. And in this case, if you were in Web 200 earlier today, we talked about pseudocode. So if we were writing this out in pseudocode, we would basically want to see if the custom field of quote exists, write the markup to display my quote, place the custom value, the custom field value of the key of quote in an element, right? So that's where then I could say if we totally were not talking about you, Bree.
You said don't say it.
I know I said don't say it, but whatever. Where was I? Get post meta. So if I go to in the codex, get the post meta function, the arguments, parameters it wants to take are what post ID, what's the name of the key, and is it true or false? Weird, I know. The true false thing there at the end. It's kind of weird, but whatever. I quit, guys. I quit. I'm out of here. So, post ID, comma. Now, in my lecture, I used an uppercase Q. For my one here in my demo, I used a lowercase q. That's not how you spell trick.
No, it's not.
That's how you spell trick. Thank you. Thanks, Dwayne.
Everything.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Someone has to, because I have no idea what I'm doing half the time. All right. So I can say echo block quote quote goes here. So basically, if there is on whatever post ID, meaning page or posting, if we are using the custom field quotes, write out a temporary thing that says quote goes here. Quote goes here. Quote goes here. There is no quote on this one. No quote goes there. Now we need to go and get the value for that key value pair. And this is where in my lecture, I wrote it like this. So I'm going to use what I wrote in my lecture. Again, remember how so I'll talk about that. Remember how we were talking about if you write something in brackets like this, right? You write a conditional statement using a bracket like this, that inside the bracket, you then have to use an echo statement if you want to write out HTML. You could also do it like this, where we ended the script like that. And then for the ending bracket, where we did something like this, right? So we open up a conditional if statement, we then close it. We then write our HTML, we then open up a PHP script tag, and we use the closing curly brace to end this whole if block. Again, what technique am I using there? God, I love quizzing you guys. It's so fun for me. Anna, what technique am I using there? I'm not going to move forward until somebody gives me the answer.
You're looking at me.
As you know.
I want to say it's a word that begins with N and it ends with an N, like encapsulation.
It starts with an E.
Yeah, that's not encapsulation, that's the other word. It's a word that Alex said, is that an actual word? I can't recall it off the top of my head right now. Alex, you know? Remember last week when we were talking about, is it a word? Yeah, it's statement.
I think that's what it's called. Maybe I'm wrong.
I thought,
To answer your question, no, I don't remember that.
Okay, I do.
I remember how you were complaining that you didn't even notice the fact that I was dressed as Darth Vader.
Well, yeah,
That was the question I remember.
Let me look through a lecture real quick to find it, because I'm pretty sure that 200. Maybe I'm using the wrong term. I've been wrong before. concept of escaping from HTML. So you open up a script tag, you write your conditional, you close it, you write something, you open it, you close it, you write something. So this is where they're using colons instead.
But they don't know how to fix it.
Microphone's back on, can't talk about them. So I'm going to use the colon there, and then if I start an if, I'm going to use end if. Okay. So now, instead of my general quote goes here, I want to go get the value of the custom field for quote that I put in the page. So again, I am going to use the same function, get post meta, but instead of saying, does this exist for quotes, echo the value for quotes. Post B for quotes. Again, I used a lowercase quote in this and an upper one in my written lecture. So now if I did it correctly, that's my wrong one. So on my about page, WordPress Spring 16. What I do wrong? I know. I hear that enough from my mother. Thank you. Got the echo statement. The market is flooded with my 2 cents. Patience is not just a Guns N' Roses song. It looks pretty ugly though, doesn't it there? So now that I closed my original one, let me open it back up. So I did this. You know, may look a little prettier. And this is where I think on my block quote, let's see what I did. Block quote 10. Did I use the before? Oh. Yeah, this is where I'm a real fan of this before class, this pseudo class. Have you guys been using the before and after pseudo classes? Where you can put content before or after text inside of an element. So sidebar, block quote, before. This is where I see where I have the content here for the curly quote. So that's how I got that there. And then I can position that where I want to position. What do you guys want to do now?
Question. You don't have a lecture on your site for the quote. Is there a reason for that?
I do.
Oh. Let's see.
Using custom fields.
Okay. It's covered under that.
What we just did is written here. Except I used an uppercase Q.
Can I see your code again?
No. You and that look. Is this what you're looking for? All right, what do you guys want to talk about now?
We go watch like a movie or something.
Good.
You want to watch like, I don't know, like some Amazon shows?
I have HBO now.
You
So,
do? We don't have enough time for that whole episode, though.
quite.
I haven't even watched or read any Game of Thrones. So where do I start? Should I start from the beginning?
It's got-
Oh, yeah. Otherwise, you're just not gonna.
Okay.
It's intricate.
It's got a close up on a beater.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
that's right.
Yes.
Only wanted to watch.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
gratuitous. I think they
Yeah.
have so much gratuitous feet on the movie that really serves my purpose. I think they're trying to even it out.
They actually have a wiener.
Oh, yeah.
Both kinds.
They're HBO. They can do whatever they want.
I know.
They showed some circus-sized peanuts.
Wow. Yeah, that's a thing.
My boyfriend's shithead cousin convinced us to watch The Red Wedding, and we hadn't watched any of the other episodes. So I've only seen that one episode. He was like,
Oh, you haven't seen all of the?
No, I haven't seen any of the other episodes, just that episode, because he told us that it would be okay and nothing really happens in that episode. And then it made national
Yeah.
news.
They should be crossing that guy.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
I saw, there was a show that I watched last night called Rome.
Hodor.